They hand you a small cup of sake and a blade wrapped in white cloth, and everyone in the room goes silent. What happens in the next 60 seconds decides whether you belong to this family for the rest of your life or whether you never leave this room the same person again. This is the Yakuza, one of the oldest, strangest, most rigidly structured criminal organizations on Earth, hiding in plain sight behind ordinary doors in ordinary neighborhoods for over 300 years. And somehow, tonight, you're about to become part of it. 8 ranks stand between where you are right now and the man who will one day sit at the head of this entire family. Some of them will cost you blood. One of them might cost you a finger. Let's find out exactly what it takes to survive all 8. Before you're anyone at all, you're a Shuhensha, an apprentice, basically an unpaid errand runner who hasn't earned the right to call himself family yet. You clean, you carry, you stay quiet, and you watch everything, because that's the only way anyone learns how this world actually works. There's an entire unspoken language of respect you're expected to learn by watching. How to pour, how to bow, when to speak, and when to disappear into the background completely. Get it wrong in front of the wrong person, and you may never get a second chance to prove yourself. Every errand is a small test in disguise. Deliver it fast, deliver it quiet, and never once ask what's inside. Because the moment you get curious about things that aren't your business yet, people start wondering if you can be trusted with bigger ones. You wait outside in weather you'd never choose to be in, for as long as it takes, without complaint. It sounds small. It isn't. Loyalty here isn't proven with big dramatic gestures. It's proven every single time nobody's watching, and you show up anyway. After months of this, sometimes years of this, someone finally decides you've earned a real conversation instead of just an order. That's the moment a Shuhensha stops being invisible and starts becoming something the family might actually keep. As Kumi-In, you're finally a real soldier in the family, not just someone running errands for one. You collect debts, you run the day-to-day rackets, and for the first time, people outside the organization actually recognize what you represent when you walk into a room. A lot of the money moves through places that look completely legal on the surface. Pachinko parlors, bars, small businesses paying for protection they never asked for. You learn fast that the Yakuza rarely needs to threaten anyone directly. The reputation usually does that work for you. Some of the money is stranger than you'd expect. Construction contracts, real estate deals, disputes between businesses that quietly hire the Yakuza to negotiate what the courts would take years to settle. It's less like crime and more like a shadow economy running parallel to the real one. You start attending real family gatherings now, formal ones, with seating arrangements that mean something, where you sit tells everyone in the room exactly how much you matter. Watching that hierarchy in action teaches you more than anyone ever explains out loud. You keep your head down, your collections clean, and your mouth shut for long enough, and eventually, someone decides you're ready for something heavier than collecting money. The next step up isn't about money anymore. It's about proving you can be trusted with the family's actual business. Becoming Shatei means going through the Sakazuki, a formal sock ceremony that binds you to an older member as his ritual younger brother. It's not just symbolic. From this moment forward, his enemies are your enemies, and his mistakes can very quickly become your problem too. You start handling disputes directly now. A debt that needs collecting, a dispute between 2 small businesses, a message that needs to be delivered in person instead of over the phone. Being calm usually works better than being loud. Most people already know exactly who you represent. Territory disputes between rival families happen more quietly than you'd expect. A lot of it is theater, posture, and controlled respect rather than open violence. But everyone in the room knows exactly how fast that theater can turn into something much more serious. There's a tradition in this world most people have heard of, but very few understand. Yubitsume, the ritual of atoning for a serious mistake by cutting off part of your own finger and presenting it to your boss. It's rarer today than the movies make it seem, but the fact that it still happens at all tells you everything about how seriously loyalty is taken here. You start reporting directly to the man who runs your own local group now, The Shateigashira, instead of getting orders secondhand, it's a small shift in the chain of command, but it puts you one conversation closer to the people who actually decide what happens next. Somewhere around this stage, a lot of members start getting irezumi, the full-body traditional tattoos the Yakuza are famous for. It takes years to complete. It hurts more than most people can imagine, and once it's there, there's no going back to an ordinary life even if you wanted to. As Shateigashira, you now run your own group within the larger family. Your own soldiers, your own territory, your own name on the ledger the Wakagashira reviews every month. Every Shatei under you answers to you first, and every mistake they make eventually lands on your desk. Running a group means running the numbers as much as running the streets, gambling, protection, disputes, all of it flowing up through you before it reaches the family's senior leadership. Come up short on your monthly report, and no excuse makes that conversation easier. Discipline within your own group is entirely your responsibility now, and the old traditions are still very much alive in how seriously that's taken. Most Shateigashira try everything else first, a fine, a demotion, a hard conversation, before anything more permanent is even discussed. Every district you control, another group wants, sometimes a rival family, sometimes a younger group inside your own organization looking to expand. Holding ground here isn't about winning fights. It's about making sure nobody ever thinks a fight is worth starting in the first place. You start getting invited into conversations that go beyond your own district now. Conversations about the family's overall direction, its relationships with other groups, its long-term strategy. That kind of access doesn't happen by accident. It happens because someone above you has decided you're worth the risk. Run your group well enough, quietly enough, for long enough, and the senior leadership starts noticing exactly how much weight you can actually carry. The next step isn't about running soldiers anymore. It's about running the family's mind instead of its muscle. As Saiko-Komon, you're the family's senior advisor, the man the boss actually consults before making a serious decision. You don't command soldiers directly anymore. Your influence comes from something much harder to earn, decades of being right when it mattered. A huge part of the job is simply keeping the peace, inside the family and between families. One miscalculated response to an insult can spiral into a war nobody actually wants. Your entire value now is making sure that never happens if it can possibly be avoided. You also manage the family's legitimate businesses now. Real estate, construction, investment firms that exist for two reasons at once. They make honest money, and they give the organization somewhere clean to put the rest of it. You're trusted with the ceremonial side of the family now too. The sake ceremonies, the formal gatherings, the traditions that have held this entire structure together for centuries. Getting the details wrong here isn't just embarrassing. It's treated as a genuine failure of respect. Your judgment has kept the family stable through disputes that could have gone very differently, and that reputation reaches the people who actually run the organization's day-to-day operations. What happens next isn't about advising anymore. It's about directing. As So-Honbucho, you're now the family's headquarters chief, the man who keeps the entire organization running smoothly day to day, coordinating between every group, every district, every senior advisor. Nothing significant happens in this family without passing across your desk first. Every district's earnings, every ongoing dispute, every promotion under consideration eventually reaches you for review. It's less glamorous than the ceremonial titles above you, and arguably more important because the entire organization actually runs through this office. You handle relationships with other families now too, alliances, disputes, delicate negotiations, where a single wrong gesture can be read as disrespect. Diplomacy at this level is exhausting in a way that street work never was, and it matters just as much. Above you sit only two men now, the Wakagashira and the Oyabun himself. After decades of climbing, you're close enough to the top that everyone below you treats every word you say as though it came from the very top already. Keep the entire organization running without a single major failure long enough, and the Wakagashira starts trusting you with decisions that shape the family's future. Decisions about expansion, about succession, about which younger members deserve to rise the way you did. It's official now. You're Wakagashira, second in command of the entire family, answering only to the Oyabun himself. Every So-Honbucho, every Saiko-Komon, every district group in the organization ultimately reports up the chain to you. The day-to-day running of the entire family moves through you now. Every district, every alliance, every dispute that couldn't be resolved further down the chain. If something breaks anywhere in this organization, fixing it eventually becomes your responsibility. Everyone assumes you're next in line if anything happens to the Oyabun, and in a world built on hierarchy and succession, that assumption alone makes you both the most protected man in the family and, quietly, one of the most watched. You handle full-scale negotiations between families now, the kind of conversations that decide whether decades of uneasy peace continues or whether something much more serious becomes unavoidable. There's very little room left for mistakes at this level. For now, the trust holds completely. The Oyabun leans on you more with every passing year, for advice, for decisions, for things he says to almost no one else in the family. You're closer to the very top than you ever imagined you'd get. You've spent your entire adult life climbing toward one seat, watching men above you rise and fall along the way. Now, there's only one chair left above yours in the entire organization, and everyone, including you, knows exactly whose it is. Then, the seat opens. An illness, a retirement, a succession decades in the making, finally reaching its end. However it happens, someone has to be formally recognized as Oyabun, and every senior member of the family is present to witness who it will be. Nobody hands you this seat casually. It comes through a formal ceremony, witnessed by every senior figure in the family, sealing decades of loyalty and respect into a single, unbreakable moment. You're Oyabun now. Every Wakagashira, every So-Honbucho, every Shatei in the entire organization ultimately answers up the chain to you, whether they've ever sat in the same room as you or not. Every major decision the family makes now passes through you first, which alliances to honor, which disputes to resolve, which younger members deserve to rise the way you once did. Running an organization this old is less about power and more about stewardship of something far bigger than yourself. You stop appearing in public much at all now. Layers of senior members exist between you and the organization's day-to-day business, exactly the way this structure has worked for 300 years. It's the only reason organizations like this have ever survived this long at all. But the seat that took you a lifetime to reach is also the one every ambitious man below you has quietly imagined sitting in himself. In a world built entirely on hierarchy, the very top has never once been a permanently safe place to stand. From a nervous apprentice sweeping floors at dawn to the one man an entire 300-year-old family answers to. That's the whole climb. 8 ranks, an entire lifetime spent earning every single step of it. The Yakuza's numbers have shrunk dramatically over the past few decades under increasing pressure from Japanese law enforcement, but the structure itself, this exact climb, has survived changes in government, changes in the law, and changes in the world around it for centuries. If you made it all the way to Oyabun in this story, tell us in the comments which rank felt like the hardest one to survive. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.